Greetings, one and all. Welcome back to Whatever Happened To, the series where we take a where are they now look at players who found success in the National Hockey League but are no longer permanent fixtures in the league, either due to controversy, poor play, or just rotten luck. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at a two-time Stanley Cup champion as we ask, whatever happened to Dave Bolland? After being drafted 32nd overall in the 2004 NHL entry draft by the Chicago Blackhawks, Dave Bolland made his NHL debut against the Vancouver Canucks on October 25th, 2006, the only game he played in the NHL during the 06-07 season. After being sent down to the AHL's Norfolk Admirals for the rest of the 06-07 season, Bolland put up 17 goals and 32 assists for 49 points in 65 AHL games. Whilst he didn't get to stick with the Blackhawks that season, Bolland knew that if he kept working hard and doing the right things on the ice, he would be playing in the NHL in no time. At the start of the 07-08 NHL season, Bolland was assigned to the AHL's Rockford Ice Hogs and put up 6 goals and 4 assists for 10 points in 16 games. His performance early in the season earned Bolland another call-up to the NHL for what would become a more permanent stint with the Chicago Blackhawks. Bolland notched 4 goals and 13 assists for 17 points in 39 games with the Blackhawks, including his first point against the Dallas Stars on October 31st, 2007, and his first goal against the Florida Panthers on December 16th, 2007. However, whilst Bolland would make an impact on the team, Chicago would miss out on the playoffs during the 07-08 season, finishing 3rd in the Central Division with a 40-34-8 record. The 08-09 NHL season saw Bolland stick with the Blackhawks from the get-go, as he played his first full season in the NHL. Bolland put up 19 goals and 28 assists for 47 points in 81 games, as the Blackhawks made the playoffs, but were eliminated in the Western Conference Finals by the Detroit Red Wings. However, whilst Bolland and the Blackhawks would miss out on the Stanley Cup this year, the best was certainly yet to come. Bolland saw his 09-10 season limited to just 39 games due to injuries, but he was able to put up 6 goals and 10 assists for 16 points in that span. Whilst Bolland was becoming known as a player who could average a point every 2 games, the playoffs were where he shined brightest. Bolland scored 8 goals and 8 assists for 16 points in 22 playoff games during the 2010 NHL playoffs, as the Chicago Blackhawks clinched their first Stanley Cup in 49 years with a 4-2 series victory against the Philadelphia Flyers. And just like that, Dave Bolland had become a Stanley Cup champion. The 10-11 NHL season saw Bolland continue his point-every-2-game pace as he notched 15 goals and 22 assists for 37 points in 61 games. Whilst Bolland would score 2 goals and 4 assists for 6 points in 4 playoff games during the 2011 playoffs, the Blackhawks were unable to repeat their Stanley Cup success as they lost in their 7-game series in Round 1 against the Vancouver Canucks. The 11-12 NHL season was the first time that Bolland played over 75 games in a season in the last 3 years, and only the second time in his 5-year NHL career, scoring 19 goals and 18 assists for 37 points in 76 games in the process. A slight dip in his point-every-2 games production previously, but still decent numbers nonetheless. Bolland also had 3 assists in 6 playoff games, but the Blackhawks were eliminated in a 6-game series in round 1 of the playoffs against the Coyotes. Oh, Chicago, from a Stanley Cup victory to a loss at the hands of the Coyotes, can it really get any worse than that, folks? The 12-13 NHL season saw Bolland's production dip lower than usual as he scored only 7 goals and 7 assists for 14 points, but Bolland did only play 35 games this season due to injuries, so his scoring still was on a similar pace with his numbers last season. Bolland's production in the playoffs dropped off too, unfortunately, as he only scored 3 goals and 3 assists for 6 points in 18 playoff games. but that was enough to help the Chicago Blackhawks win their second Stanley Cup in 4 years, as the Hawks took a 4-2 series victory in the finals against the Boston Bruins. Then, during the 2013 NHL entry draft, Dave Bolland was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for a 2013 second round pick, a 2013 fourth round pick, and a 2014 fourth round pick. After winning 2 Stanley Cups in 4 years, Bolland was heading north of the border to one of hockey's biggest markets. Whilst his production had already seen a slight drop over the last few years, the trade to Toronto saw the beginning of the end for Bolland's NHL career. Bolland played 23 games during the 13-14 NHL season with the Leafs and notched 8 goals and 4 assists for 12 points. Whilst he was scoring at a pace consistent with the rest of his career, Bolland had suffered a severed tendon in the process of playing with the Leafs, which kept him out of the Leafs lineup for months and practically shut down his season. Because of this, Bolland didn't make a big enough impact on the Leafs roster that season. It didn't help that this all came in a contract year for Dave Bolland, who would be an unrestricted free agent at the end of his season with the Leafs. The 2014 off-season came, and the Maple Leafs chose not to re-sign Dave Bolland. Luckily for him though, on July 1st, 2014, the Florida Panthers came knocking with a 5-year, $27.5 million contract for Bolland with an average annual value of $5.5 million a season. $5.5 a season for a guy who only played 23 games last season due to a bad injury, and who only puts up a point every 2 games when he's healthy? I don't know what you were smoking back then, Florida, but it must have been some good shit. Talk about offering a player way too much money. God, I can see why your team has been mediocre for many years with moves like that. But anyway, because he isn't an idiot and had somehow been offered the biggest payday of his life for his limited set of skills, Dave Bolland signed the contract with the Panthers and joined their team for the upcoming season. The 2014-15 NHL season saw Dave Bolland be the point every 2 game player he had always been since he joined the NHL almost a decade ago. Bolland scored 6 goals and 17 assists for 23 points in 53 games during his first season with the Florida Panthers, as the Panthers went 38, 29 and 15 for 6th place in the Atlantic Division, missing the playoffs in the process. The 2015-16 NHL season saw Bolland limited to just 25 NHL games due to reoccurring problems from the ankle injury he suffered while playing with the Maple Leafs. Healing his ankle injury was also hampered by a back injury that Dave Bolland had picked up, which meant that Bolland couldn't properly rehab his ankle, which subsequently meant the ankle took longer to heal. Because of all this, Bolland's numbers practically disappeared when he was on the ice, as he notched only 1 goal and 4 assists for 5 points in those 25 games played. Bolland was underperforming so badly for the Panthers that he was sent down to the AHL's Portland Pirates for 2 games, where he notched a single assist. Well, at least his point-to-game average was better in the AHL. After the 2015-16 NHL season ended, Dave Bolland's time in Florida was done, as he was traded to the Arizona Coyotes along with prospect Lawson Krause for 2 draft picks on August 25th, 2016. Since the trade almost 2 years ago, Dave Bolland hasn't played a single game of professional hockey either in the NHL or the AHL. Instead, Bolland has remained on the Coyotes' injured reserve list due to the ongoing ankle and back injuries that have troubled him for the past 4 years. However, it's not all bad for Bolland, who still has 1 year left on the 5-year contract he signed with Florida, meaning he has been paid $5.5 million for each of the last 2 seasons without taking to the ice and playing a single game. Every cloud and that, I guess, folks. So even though he is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, played 9 seasons in the National Hockey League, and became a consistent point every 2 game player, who notched a career total of 85 goals and 123 assists for 208 points in 433 career games, Dave Bolland is now nothing more than an injured player on an unsuccessful team. If Dave Bolland can shake the injury bug off his back and his ankle and finally get healthy, perhaps there is a chance he could return to the league and pick up where he left off, as he is only 31 years old at the moment. However, considering it's been years since he stepped out onto the ice for an NHL game, I doubt that this will come to pass. It's a shame because Bolland was a solid depth player who was basically robbed of the prime years of his career due to the injuries he suffered. But he's earned $5.5 million a year for rehabbing his injuries and not really having to do much else, so it could be a lot worse for him, folks. And there you go. That's what happened to Dave Bolland. What did you think about Dave Bolland's career? Is it good, bad, or do you wish he didn't get injured, or do you wish that he might come back soon? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think. But thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. Please feel free to like, subscribe, share, or watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.